The last person to see her alive said that she just ran into the woods, but it was 4 a.m. during a thunderstorm, and she was 9 years old. This is the case of Asha Degree. Welcome to Red Flag Files. My name is Angel Taylor, and today we're diving deep into the timeline of the 25-year-old Asha Degree case. She disappeared on February the 14th, 2000, and we have a somewhat confession 25 years later. Let's learn a little bit about Asha. Asha was born on August the 5th, 1990. She lived in Shelby, North Carolina with her parents, Harold and Iquilla Degree, and her older brother, O'Brien. O'Brien was just 1 year older than Iquilla, for reference there. Her family was known to be really protective, just very close-knit, and a pretty religious family as well. They went to church most, if not every Sunday. Asha was described as pretty shy, cautious, leery of strangers, even scared of dogs. She loved to play basketball and softball. In fact, she even played a basketball game the day before she went missing. That basketball game seemed to have an effect on her. She fouled out of the game. She felt like she caused her team to lose the game and therefore was pretty upset by it. She even cried. But her parents reassured her that it was okay. The family seemed to be quite normal. They seemed to give off like 90s sitcom family vibes, and they just seemed to be no drama, pretty quiet, stick to themselves, until that all changed on February the 14th, 2000. Let's take a look at the day before and lead us all the way through the very last time anyone would see Asha. Sunday, February the 13th, 2000. It was a normal day. Asha seemed to have gotten over the emotions of the basketball game the day before. The family went to church that morning. They attended Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church in Waco, North Carolina, where they were members. That evening, the family decided to celebrate Valentine's Day early. Asha's father, Harold, was a truck driver and he would be going out of town on the actual holiday. So the family decided to have some festivities the day before to get the Valentine's Day celebrations in before he would be gone. After dinner and celebrating together, Asha and her brother, O'Brien, went to bed together in a room that they shared around 8 or 9 p.m. Mom reportedly went to bed around 10. Dad stayed up till around midnight. Somewhere between midnight and 2:30 a.m., there was a power outage. Apparently a car hit a utility pole in the area, causing an outage for the neighborhood. Around 2:30 a.m., I'm assuming waking up to the humming and buzzing of things kind of coming back to life, Harold, Asha's dad, decided to get up and go check on the kids. So he goes to their room, he sees Asha asleep in her bed and her brother O'Brien asleep in his. Around 4 a.m., O'Brien mentions that he hears Asha kind of moving around in her bed. He hears her bed creaking, and then he hears the door close. But he thinks it's their dad. He checks on them quite a bit. And he also thinks it's just Asha kind of stirring in her sleep, doesn't think anything of it, and goes right back to sleep. Let's fast forward to that morning. It's 6:30 a.m. Asha's mom typically gets up a little bit before the kids' alarm goes off at 6:30 to kind of set the day for them. So she's getting everything ready. She decides to go into the kids' room around 6:30, wake them up. She calls for O'Brien. He pops up ready for the day, just like he always does, energized and ready to start. But she looks over to Asha's bed and notices that she's not in it. She thinks maybe she's in the house somewhere else. She starts calling for her. No answer. She checks other rooms, closets, under the bed. No Asha. Her mother-in-law lives across the street. She goes across the street to see if Asha's there. No Asha. She also has a sister-in-law, Asha's father's sister, who lives down the street. She thinks maybe she's there. She runs down the street. No Asha. She gets on the phone and she frantically calls her mother. Mom, I cannot find Asha. Her mom says, hang up and call 911. 911 is called at 6:40 a.m. and the police show up almost immediately and start searching the area. They come up empty-handed. On February the 14th, they bring out the tracking dogs. The tracking dogs lose her scent at a nearby shed just down the road from her home. They go inside the shed and they find candy wrappers, a pencil, and a Mickey Mouse hair bow. The family confirmed that these items did belong to Asha. There's also a photograph of an unidentified girl. This may not have anything to do with the case. I just find it interesting. There's a photo of a girl, another young Black girl, in the shed. We don't know if the picture was Asha's, if she brought it with her, if the photo was already in the shed, but I just find it very strange that there's this random photo. The police released this photo to the public. No one comes forward. No one knows who this other little girl is. No one has seen her. I find that incredibly odd, but it may have nothing to do with the case, so we'll move on. Let's back up a bit because the police start questioning people in the area and a few pieces of the puzzle start to fall into place. Between 3:30 and 4:15 a.m., two separate drivers reported seeing a young girl matching Aisha's description walking along Highway 18. It's a stretch of highway near their home. She was wearing a white long-sleeved shirt and long, light-colored pants. One spotted her at 3:30 a.m. and the other at 4:15. The one who spotted her at 4:15 was a former deputy with the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office. He reported seeing a small figure in light-colored clothing walking along Highway 18 around 4:15 a.m. He assumed it was a woman leaving a domestic situation and used his CB radio to warn other truckers, let them know that someone's walking along the road, be careful. He decides to spin around and try to help her. He turns his car around, goes to check on her, and he says that when he did, Aisha ran into the woods. Now, my issue there is, how can you not tell that that's a 9-year-old girl? Once you spin back and go take a closer look, how do you not know that, oh, this is clearly not someone that's leaving a domestic situation, this is a child? I will give him the benefit of the doubt because it was, quote, pouring rain. It was also 4 o'clock in the morning, so it's pitch dark and you can't really see. However, all the photos that we've seen from Aisha around that time show that she's wearing pigtails. She just looks very much like a child. So that's interesting to me that you don't notice that that's a child now and decide to alert authorities or alert someone, considering your background as well, that you would not say, hey, there's a kid that just ran into the woods. But I digress. Let's keep going. We hear nothing else. It is radio silent for 18 months until August the 3rd, 2001. About 26 miles north of her home, still along Highway 18, a contractor found a backpack buried and double wrapped in black trash bags. The backpack was confirmed to belong to Aisha. Inside the backpack were some of her belongings, including her favorite Tweety Bird purse and some school supplies. The backpack was buried near a construction site, an area she could not easily have reached on foot. Also, it was buried and wrapped in black trash bags, something she would not have done. The fact that her backpack was intentionally buried suggests foul play. They had no major leads. Now, between 2001 and 2015, not much happens. There's some national coverage on America's Most Wanted, Oprah, The Montel Williams Show, places like that. Not a ton of coverage on the local level, according to Aisha's mother, and she would have loved to have seen more of that. She does wonder if this had been a young white girl, if there would have been more coverage on the local area where people would have seen and known and kind of been able to talk to each other and see exactly what happened to her in this area, as opposed to just getting a couple of mentions on some national stations. Her family did hold annual walks every single year on Valentine's Day to help keep Aisha's case in the public eye. Let's take a look at 2015 to 2020. Now, 2015 marked a significant turning point in the investigation into Aisha's disappearance. In February of 2015, coinciding with the 15th year anniversary of her disappearance, the FBI, in collaboration with the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office and the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation, announced a renewed effort to re-examine the case. This initiative involved re-interviewing witnesses and following up on new leads. As part of this renewed investigation, the FBI offered a reward of up to $25,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those responsible for Aisha's disappearance. A community group added $20,000, bringing the total reward to $45,000. To aid in the search, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released a new age-progressed photo depicting what Aisha might have looked like at the age of 24. This image was widely disseminated through various channels, including digital billboards, social media platforms, and local media outlets to increase public awareness and encourage tips from the community. In 2016, based on a tip, investigators searched an area near her home again, but found no new evidence. Also in 2016, witnesses come forward and claim to have seen Aisha getting into a dark-colored green, early 1970s Lincoln or Ford Thunderbird along Highway 18. We have no idea who these witnesses are, 1. 2, we have no idea why they waited 16 years to come forward and say, hey, the little girl that was missing, we saw her get into this car, and can clearly describe it. Speechless. I don't understand. In 2017, investigators brought in a special FBI team in an effort to generate new leads. The team recreated the early morning hours of Aisha's disappearance, and at that time, officials said there were multiple persons of interest looked at in connection with the case. We don't know who those people were. In 2018, the FBI released info about 2 items that did not belong to Asha that were found in her backpack. Not sure why we're releasing this 18 years later. Well, I guess 17, since it was 18 months since her original disappearance. However, there were 2 items in her backpack that did not belong to her. There was a New Kids on the Block sleep shirt, looks like, a long shirt, and a book from the school library. Now, the book was checked out from the school that she attended, but not checked out by Asha, and no one knows how she got it. Something they haven't released is, if it wasn't checked out to Asha, who was it checked out to? I remember in school when things were checked out, everything was left on a log. We all knew like who had the book before us, even that little slip of paper that was kind of in there. If you're old like me, they had the papers that were in there and you'd sign off your name on each. So why can't we tell who had the book or who checked it out? And if they know, why hasn't that information been released by FBI? It still hasn't to this day, by the way. Now, they didn't explain why they waited this long to release this information, 17 years almost, but there's a few likely reasons. Some possible reasons for that delay could be that they were just trying to preserve the integrity of the investigation. They could have also been doing what we call a cold case strategy shift, where we hold information or hold evidence until a few years later, and we use that to kind of re-spark public interest and kind of re-engage the public to see if there's any new tips that can kind of come from this new information. Now let's move on to November 2020. There's an inmate, Marcus Mellon, who claimed to have had information about Asha's fate. After investigation, authorities confirmed that his claims did not yield any actionable leads. We've seen this a few times. Sometimes people that are incarcerated will try to insert themselves into a case that's getting a lot of public attention. They'll try to do anything to kind of get a few minutes of outside interaction. And so that could have been what was happening with this case, but we did find that this did not lead any actionable leads or anything productive for the case. 2024. This is where we start to get a few things that shift this case and turn it on its head, all the way up into investigations that are still actively going on right now. On September the 11th, 2024, authorities executed search warrants after DNA analysis from items in Asha's backpack, which was discovered back in 2001, revealed matches to Anna Lee Dedmon and Russell Uphill. Now, Anna Lee Dedmon Ramirez, is 13 years old at the time of Asha's disappearance. Russell Underhill was, quote, a man associated with the Dedmon family who resided in facilities they operated. I'm gonna drop a bomb because this made my mouth drop. Couple of things. Anna Lee, who was 13 at the time, has a sister. Her name is Lizzie. Lizzie has been reported to have been 16 at the time. Up until 2024, we thought Lizzie was 16. In 2024, because we have to ask for birth certificates and forms of identification from the individuals that are linked to this case now, we find out that Lizzie, Anna Lee's sister, was actually 20 years old at the time, a full-grown adult. And Russell Underhill is not just some man that lived in the facilities and kind of went back and forth with them. He was Lizzie's boyfriend. Now, the age gap there is that Lizzie was 20 years old. Russell is 36 years old at the time. They are dating. Some records indicate that they were even engaged, although it's not clear how long they were actually together. Russell was frequently present at the Dedmon property and was close with multiple members of the family. His DNA, along with Anna's, were reportedly found on at least one of the non-public backpack contents during a forensic processing in 2024. Now, what exactly was that DNA that they found? A hair sample from the undershirt in the backpack matched the DNA of Anna Lee Dedmon Ramirez. She was 13 at the time of Asha's disappearance, and DNA from Russell Underhill, again, associated, but also Lizzie's boyfriend, was also found on items within the backpack. We don't know which items. We also don't know what kind of DNA was found, just that it was present. Now, one thing to note, the green car that people started to mention in 2016, a car that looks extremely similar to the description that was given by those witnesses, is found on the Dedmon property. It's been years. They're not using the car. Why didn't they get rid of it? Or did they know that there may be evidence inside that car and they decided to keep it to prevent it from being passed to anyone else's hands? Now, it is true that Roy and Connie Dedmon, who are the parents of Anna Lee and Lizzie, ran a care facility that Russell stayed at. Lizzie, which is the 20-year-old, she would occasionally use that green car to transport patients back and forth from other facilities. So it's likely that Russell would have been in the car, but even more likely because he's her boyfriend. So if she's driving, I'm sure he's going to hop in the car and go with her. These findings prompted searches of multiple properties located to the Dedmon family, including their residence on Cherryville Road in Shelby, North Carolina. Following the property searches, a man came forward in September 2024, and he said that in the mid-2000s, he attended a party where Lizzie Foster, formerly Lizzie Dedmon, allegedly confessed, quote, "I killed Asha Degree." Now, her sister, Sarah, formerly Sarah Dedmon, now Sarah Capel, reportedly reacted by telling her to, quote, "shut the up." Now, the thing about that is Sarah was known to have a really quiet demeanor as well, not something she would have done. And so it seemed out of character for her to react that way, almost violently, and "shut the fuck up. Don't say anything. What are you doing?" So this raised a couple of red flags for this man. Why he didn't mention that before, we don't know. People are scared. I get it. They don't want to be tied to the case. But they asked this man if he would submit to a polygraph test, which he did, and he passed. Now, the only issue with that is that polygraph results are not admissible in court, so we can't even use it. But knowing that she said that he heard it, he was not lying, is mind-blowing to me. Now, Russell Underhill passed away in 2004, 4 years after Asha's disappearance, so we can't question him. We have no idea what the actual involvement was there. I have my own theories, which we'll get to at the end, but in February 2025, latest and greatest, search warrants led to the seizure of cell phones from Roy Dedmon and his daughters, Lizzie and Sarah. Investigators uncovered text messages suggesting knowledge or involvement in Asha's disappearance. You can take a look at the text messages here. They are absolutely insane. The text messages start on September the 10th, all the way through September the 29th. I feel like these text messages are pretty damning. There's not a way that you would be that nervous, that upset, that worried if you had nothing to do with her disappearance. Foster said to her ex-husband, "This is going to get nothing but worse. If I were completely innocent, I think I might be a little concerned that I'm being questioned, but I'd be like, they can't find anything. It's impossible. I had nothing to do with it. So there's nothing to find." But when you say, "I'm so worried. I'm just so worried," it's a nightmare that's going to keep getting worse. I can see nothing good happening anytime soon, and I'm an optimist. That is all but an admission to me. The family is still denying involvement in this case. Investigators think that Dedmon and his family are in some way connected with or even responsible for Degree's believed death. The attorney for Roy Dedmon held a press conference on September the 13th, 2024. Amid news of those search warrants, he claims that the family still has no ties to this incident and has no idea what happened. That's not what those text messages say. Your text messages say that you're worried. Your text messages say that you know something and that you're covering it up. So my thought is Lizzie was driving, and what I would want to say happened is that she struck her accidentally and her boyfriend and her family helped her cover it up. The thing that throws a wrench in that theory is the witnesses that saw Asha getting into the car, being pulled into the car. I can't wrap my head around why they would have pulled her into the car. If you pulled her into the car strategically, like wanting her to get into the car with you, you weren't trying to save her, clearly, because you didn't take her home. And so what was the point of that? Was it a hate crime? They see a young Black girl walking down the street and they pull her into the car. For what reason? And she never goes home again. All we know is that the Dedmons are involved. I'm saying I know it. We can say it's speculative. We can say that nothing has been confirmed and everything is, everyone's innocent until proven guilty. Your text messages, your admission of guilt at the party when you were really drunk and wanted to tell everyone all your business, those feel like admissions of guilt to me. The fact that you're worried, the fact that you don't want to implicate your dad, what does your dad have to do with it? Did he help you? Did you find this young girl and you thought it'd be funny to like mess with her? Did you strangle her to be funny and it was just too long and your family helped you cover it up? Someone has to speak. I think at this point, you live your life for so long thinking, God, that was 25 years ago. I'm free. I'm in the clear. No one knows anything. And then the search warrants come and now you're nervous. Whether they're acting in these text messages sounds a little bit manicky. It sounds a little bit like someone's going to slip up. And when they do, we'll be right here with updates. This has been Red Flag Files. I'm Angel Taylor. If you find any other bits of evidence or any other pieces to this story that I may have left out or that you feel are just as shocking as the other bits of this case, put them in the comments. Let me know. I'd love to see exactly what you found. Until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining.